Add to the scene. All right, there you go. Let's see.
Can I zoom so that I don't have or can I change my background?
I don't know how to do that on here. Let me see.
That's okay. That's okay.
See if there's an issue. Change webcam, fit to canvas, transparency. That just makes you transparent.
Okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's not that bad.
All right, let me see. All right, so today we were supposed to talk about Bridgerton and another show, but you know what's going on, right?
What?
In the Capitol,
The president trying to take over?
there's people storming. I don't know exactly what the plan is. Let me close the door because it's a little loud here. Hold on. So it's like we have to address this though because this is freaking ridiculous. I mean, just the fact that this is actually happening is unprecedented and it's damaging to us as a country. So it's kind of ridiculous. Just
Capitol breached by protesters and a woman shot inside.
yeah, it's not good.
Did you talk to mom and dad?
I spoke with them and just gonna have to pray about it because I couldn't convince them to
Not
But
do that.
we're live now, so I don't want to.
Okay. Well,
But
Heavenly Father, thank you for the protection over our parents that you place over them on a daily basis. And we thank you for it continuing through today and through all today's travels. In the name of your son, Jesus, we pray, amen.
amen, and they will be protected.
Hallelujah.
All right, so yeah, this is the situation right now. As far as I know, they're still in the Capitol. They came in, they used weapons, they were firing, I guess, or there was a standoff of some sort. And the president hasn't spoken up and told them to back down yet, and that was a big deal. And the one that has spoken up has been Joe Biden, the president elect. And he's told them they shouldn't be doing this. It's insurrection, basically. It's not a protest. And honestly, I just have to agree. It's not a good look. It's not a good look for a country. It's thuggish, and it's the type of thing that if it were African Americans that were storming the Capitol, there'd be all types of tanks and everything out there around it. But because of the people who are doing it, to me, all they're doing is giving more of a reason why the country's going to end up trying to take their guns away. Just because this stupid stuff like this, right? It's
I mean, but here's the thing. If you want to start talking about guns, these are the people who need their guns taken away.
exactly.
The people who will utilize them to try to enforce their will upon a country who's already said that the will of the people is that we are governed by the will of the people. So you can't come in and say that because you have guns, because you have God on your side, because you have anything else, you can't come in and overthrow the majority. And the majority has consistently been overthrown in my lifetime, from what I could see.
Yeah.
I still remember in 2000, the 2000 election, I had just started college. I was excited to be in college and to be in college as a theater major. God forgive me for wasting all that money. But as a theater major, and we were, and everybody was like, yeah, Dole won, Dole won. And then they were like, no, wait, no, Florida lost messed up the votes. So I mean, we've seen it. We've been watching it happen in very slow motion over the course of our lifetime. That there is a branch of the government, especially over the last when Barack Obama was in office, but they always refuse. They believe that their job is to be anti-democratic. And I not anti-democracy, but anti to whatever the Democrats are trying to get done. They think it's their job to be the opposing side. And when you have two sides that are working against one another instead of two sides that are working towards moving forward. It's ridiculous that we have this bipartisan government where the two sides are working against one another instead of the two sides working towards making America a better country.
Yeah,
And that's what I feel like we're seeing. And we're seeing the people trying to enforce the fact that we want a better country, and we see our government being lame dog about it. Now, of course, these guys are mad if they think there's any way that Donald Trump has earned the right to remain president of the United States. If he's the only one who's been screaming that if he doesn't win, it's a rigged and a fixed election. He even said it in 2016 when he did win, that there's no way he can't win. And that's only because he feels that way. And it's based on no actual numbers. The same way he said he had the largest crowd size. He was not basing it on numbers, people. He's not basing this election on numbers. He's basing everything. He didn't base how much money he had off of numbers. This man does not care about numbers. He
right.
based how much money he had off of how he felt.
Yeah,
So
and
I
we kind of jumped into this. I'm gonna go ahead and just let everybody know if you bumped on this live stream or if you find this later on in the stream when people are talking about this. I'm Big Brother Rod, the warrior and the scholar and the philosopher. And this is my sister Antoinette. She is the farmer,
Earth
bringing
got
food,
it. No, I'm kidding.
bringing food and nutrition to the peoples. Um, and we're just kind of expressing the way we feel about what's going on right now. Today is January 6th of 2020, and it's crazy because we just got out of, January 6th of 2021, excuse me. And it's crazy because we just got out of 2020 where a lot of craziness was happening, and we were happy about getting out of 2020. We were thinking 2021 would be a much smoother, better year, but there's people who have stormed the Capitol because they don't like the president-elect coming in. They think that they're going to somehow reverse the election. And the problem with that is this country is based on a peaceful transfer of power where if you lose, you just wait 4 years or 2 years, then you start your campaign and you go and you try and win again the next year with more votes. You garner that support. If you're good, if people are voting for you, you'll get that. So what they're doing now is they're starting to get to the point where that's not working. They're trying to say it's not working because they didn't like the outcome of the election. Um, and honestly, I've heard it said before that, Donald Trump cheated or the Russians cheated to win this election. And you know what the Democrats did? They waited 4 years and they hated it. They made fun of Donald Trump the whole way. They complained, kicking and screaming, but they waited that 4 years and then they won the election. Republicans need to do the same thing. Proud Boys, anybody who thinks that they're above the law needs to do the same thing. Sit still, try and win the election next time. There's going to be another one in 4 years. We can't do something like this. It's going to damage that possibility of another election being in 4 years. You know what I mean? This is a democracy. Whether you like it, love it, whatever, it is what it is, and you
Actually,
can't
Big
take it
Brother.
away.
I'm sorry, you let me do my rant.
No, I'm just
I was
saying.
just gonna say, like, maybe this is a sign that business done back to usual or business as usual is not what we need to be shooting for.
See,
Maybe we need to start exploring new solutions. I mean, while we talk about all these things going on with our government, we still forget that the United States is a big polluter, and we're possibly we're staring down the barrel of global warming with changes that might eliminate human life on Earth in the next 9 to 10 years. So it's definitely people are definitely tired of status quo. I think that's a big reason why Democrats, even though we were happy to get Donald Trump out of office, a lot of us still felt underwhelmed by having Joe Biden as president. It's nice that he's filling his cabinet with minorities, including, of course, putting a stellar first lady, vice president in place, a first time for African American, first timers, for African Americans, for Indian people or South Asian people. Um, it's good that he's doing those things, but it's not nearly going to carry us far enough from where we need to be. We need to be looking towards, new jobs and new jobs and saving the planet, new jobs and energy, new jobs and eco-friendly building and things like that. We need to look at new energy sources. We need to build more farmers into our the infrastructure of America. Local food. The top three things that are destroying the planet right now are our transportation, our energy use, and agriculture. And we need to all make changes in those areas. But instead, we're busy watching this Muppet show going on at the White House of people who want to act like one event taking over one building is going to change the gears of the America problem. And the America problem is that we have a government that's moving forward, not nearly listening to what to the people like they proclaim to be across the globe. Oh, we're the seat of democracy. Where everybody's free, and it's like, no, we still have slaves. We're still disenfranchising Native Americans off of their land. Now now we take Mexican children from their parents, or South American children away from their parents. It's like,
I'm 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 not a Republican, but I'm a strong center, and they didn't take those children away. Those parents came in there bringing children into an illegal situation, and they should have came through
when
the
should
right way.
the so when should a government? So I understand if you break the law, your children have to go to you might have to go to another household or something like that. They didn't try to find households for these kids where they would be loved and parented and adopted as American children or anything like that. They put them in jail too
Yeah,
with other children, and the kids were not safe.
in my mind, they
Some of
should.
the kids died.
Yeah,
Some of the kids
you
died,
should
and
separate them. And
everybody in America who is not Native American and not African American came here as a refugee seeking a better life, seeking something different. So for them to do that, we're we're still in the territory of where South Americans would have naturally been able to go freely from one area to the next. But because the Europeans that came here drew some arbitrary lines and said, "No, this is America, and now you're not Native American. Now you're Mexican because you were south of that line. Now you're South American because you're south of that line." Now, when they want to come up here to the land that their ancestors held or might have been able to use freely because it was a walk away,
can you go to
we say
Mexico?
no. We take their children. Like, I'm sorry, but you can't make taking somebody's children and putting them in jail because they were refugees from their country. You can't make that sound like, oh, it was just because they broke the law.
I'm
If
not trying to say it's right. I'm not
If
trying
I
to
was
say
to go to jail right now, they would put my children with my family. They would at least do that much work. These people were so lazy about it. They said, no, we're going to lock your children up in cages too. We have a huge pedophilia problem in this country, in
so
this
why are we
planet
trying to get
right
here?
now.
So
So
why are
why
we get here? So why can we just walk down to Mexico and be like, yo, I'm
refugees?
Mexican now?
Why are we so cold to South American refugees?
We can't do that. We can't go to Mexico and say, you know, I'm Mexican now. I'm just walk through the border and say, you know what? I'm buying a house right here. This is it. I'm Mexican. You can't do that. I mean, even if you,
Why are we so cold to South American refugees?
it's not cold. It's a border, and you
If
have
you
to make.
walk
It
if
is
you're
not
walk
just
if
us.
you have to escape your country and you need to go someplace else,
Can
do
you
you
walk
really
down?
want to find yourself jailed with TJ and your children in jail? I'm sorry, Cameron in jail. Do you
Can
really
you
want
walk
that?
down to Mexico? I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. Can you walk down to Mexico? You can't. You can't walk into Canada without something going through a border legally. You can't walk into Europe like this. This the way this world is set up. They have countries, and countries have authority over certain areas. I mean, even if it's changed, it used to be free. There were no countries. Everybody could walk anywhere. But now we got borders. Just respect them. I mean, if you respect the borders, it's not going to be that bad.
Why do we have borders? Who drew the border lines, and what did it do to the people? And were people or were they not disenfranchised by the drawing of those borders?
There were tons of people disenfranchised by slavery, by borders, by having to work hourly jobs that don't pay.
Right. So now
It's a part of
that's
life.
like that's like
But that's here too.
that's
It's
like
not
people
just
saying
down there.
that's like people saying we can't go visit Africa if we want to. And it's
Not
like, why?
without
Because
passport.
okay, and yeah, maybe you have to have a passport. And if we had a passport and you got to Africa and you felt really close and you wanted to stay there, would you not risk it? Or if you felt safer in Africa than you did in America, would you not risk it to stay there? And if
It,
you got caught if you got caught in some country in Africa had to take your kids, what would you expect them to do with your
I
children?
wouldn't put my kids in
Would
that
you expect
situation.
them to put your children in jail?
I wouldn't put
Who
my kids
puts
in that
children
situation.
in jail? Who puts children in jail just for being refugees? America does.
Who puts their
Our country
children
does.
in that situation where there's a possibility they can be taken away from you? Who does that? Right?
A
I don't buy
refugee.
by
A refugee, somebody who is desperate. And that's why
it.
that's who in the Bible are
That's supposed to
Christians.
happen.
These people claim to be such good Christians. Our Christian duty is to take care of those who are lesser than us, who don't have as much as us.
But we're not down there on the border. But we are not down there on the border. We don't know those situations. We are,
Right.
working where we're working, doing what we're doing. If they need
But
more
if
Christians
they're
down
coming
there
as
on the
a
border, send more
refugee,
Christians to the border.
here's my thing. Why not just stop them where they're at then? Stop them where they're at. Don't take them into the country, but don't lock up their kids and take their kids away from them.
Agreed. That could work. Send them back. Just
What
you
we
got to go
did,
back. Go
what
back.
we did was some dastardly shit. We made a bad decision on how to handle this. How do I know that America is now just a country that makes bad decisions? Oh, we don't even know how to roll out this vaccine. Don't nobody want to take the vaccine. Shoot.
We've made tons of bad decisions as a country over the years. We've made tons of good decisions as a country over the years. All types of leaders and all over this globe have made good and bad decisions. That's just a part of what it is. Nobody's perfect. Even if you're a leader, the president, the vice president, nobody's perfect. I mean, this is something that we all have to understand. People make mistakes. When you put people in charge, sometimes you might put somebody in charge of a situation. They look at the law book, like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. And they follow those rules. And oh, the rules were fine 20 years ago when people weren't bringing their kids, dragging them across the thing, take them, put them in a place. But now it's a different world. So we have to learn to adjust. It's a process. I mean, I don't hold the country responsible for small things like that. Where even not okay, let me backpedal on that. Not necessarily a small thing, but for those type of mistakes because it's an unprecedented situation, and
To me,
now we
it's a
have
small thing to
to
ask the child their name and the city they came from and say, okay, well, are there family members we can send you back to? Just keep the kid with their parent until you're able to find a safe home for their child, not just rip them away like this is like you're some sort of a Nazi and you just want to make sure that you're punishing them hard enough. Our country has a real big problem with punishing criminals. We feel like we would rather punish people who break laws than rehabilitate people who break laws. I know as colored people, we have to agree on that because we know that our prison system is so much more animalistic than it has to be and so much more rough for the people who have to go through that. And so that's just another way of us showing our rough and our ugly side when, oh, here's somebody breaking the law and coming across a border that was drawn arbitrarily a few hundred years ago on land that they would have had access to freely a few hundred years ago if there had not been what do they call them, colonizers.
yeah
And now
yeah.
we're going to take their children away to punish them. While at the same time, the same administration also took land away from Native Americans who were still on the right side of the border, but we're going to take your land and possibly poison it with pipelines. I have
You
been
know
so
what? I'm gonna
ashamed.
get on that. I'm gonna get on that and agree with you. As soon as they pay us our reparations and take care of the ADOS, the Native African American,
You got to take care of both of us. You got to
one
take
thing
care
at
of
a
the
time.
Native Americans
One
and
thing at a
the Black
time.
Americans.
They never do it all together. It's one thing at a time. If they don't take care of us, then we're the ones that built. This is built on our backs, and this is
That's
what's attracting all these people here. So that it's attracting all these people to come to this country. The wealth that was built on our backs, and everybody comes to get the welfare checks, and everybody comes to get all types of stuff and all types of
and they
benefits.
come to get flicky like black people because we are
So
still building this country up.
and then they look at us like we're nothing, like we're less than because of
Yeah.
why they still worried about slavery. I came here over the country. I've got all this money and business. I came with nothing. Blah, blah, blah. You came with nothing, and you didn't have any of that negative energy that's focused on you for being an African American over here, a descendant of slaves. So it's a little different. So once they take care of us and put us in the right situation, the right reparation situation, I will look at these other situations like, you know what? Now we can be more open and let's fix everything. But one thing at a time. Once they take care of us, we got to get taken care of first because this is on our backs. And the farther it gets away from the slavery times, the harder it's going to be for them to look and say, you know what? People something. If it takes, you'll still be dealing with the same crap because with such a large population, even if a few people are doing good, Beyonce and Jay Z and all the rich people are doing great. For all the rest of us down here on Earth who are dealing with the real day to day, it's not going to be nothing for us. And we're still the descendants, the same descendants that just got walked over and forgotten. So I'm not. I'm not anti helping people, but I think we have to prioritize that situation. And in order to prioritize it, we have to make sure this democracy stands because they owe us. We can't. It's kind of like this country owes us. I don't want this country to end because people go in and storm the Capitol and try and do a coup, a military coup with no military. This is the most ridiculous thing I've been seeing all day. Like when I first heard wind of it, I'm like, this, you gotta be kidding me. This is
But
some
this
BS.
is scary because Trump doesn't just have those people that stormed the White House. He also has a few million other people who are willing to look past all the shit he's done for the past 4 years and everything he's made. He came from before that, and still say no. This is the time. And so, in my mind, those people are not at all saying that what they want is Donald Trump. What they're saying is they want that alt right, super Nazi white America, and we have something to fear, is what I'm saying, because this is just the spear's tip, the tip of the spear. You know what I mean?
And I don't think I think it's all it is a tip. I don't think it's a real spear because it's not that many people who are, I think, alt right, all white is right mentality. I don't think that's, first of all, there's no such thing as white people. I'm just gonna
How
put
many
that.
times has everybody heard it's just the tip? Yeah, that's always a lie. It's always a lie. Okay. Look, it's not. This is the thing. Is like I said, it's not just those people who are willing to actually storm the White House. I think a few years ago, maybe during the Obama presidency, we had those guys try to take over a part of like their own community. They tried to take over like the government building of their small community, and there was a little bit of a kerfuffle about that because they went and they stormed the place with guns, and it was like four guys.
Yeah. There was a
That's what that.
situation where there was eminent domain. They were trying to take land from some people, and that was a standoff on that too. I mean,
We have always allowed the South to wave that flag, that Confederate flag, and say it's our history, it's our history, it's our history. I don't think that they have ever left the idea of concession alone, honestly, because they
yeah.
know if they can't change everybody, then they're. And what's only thing that worries me about that is if they concede, how much land do they plan on taking? Because
It won't
ain't
be.
that many of you. You know what I'm saying? You all spread out over the whole middle of the United States, and we are in clusters around large cities. So if y'all try to leave us with just our luck, we won't have any resources.
I think most of this country, honestly, is in the middle. I think most of this country, you got some left wing kind of wing nuts out there. You got some right wing nuts out there, but most of the country's in the middle, and you're not going to sway them to say, you know what, I want this country to end. I want to take over, and I want this party. This most of this country is not trying to say lazy or misinformed. Most of the country is happy on a certain level with what's going on as far as in their life, and they don't want to risk that to go out here on the far right and on the far left. So I'm not too worried about it. It's like worried about somebody who's anti motor vehicles and wants everything to be electric and everything to be safe. Now it's like, okay, I hear what you're saying, but most of the country, it's going to take time to work to that level. So you can't just make them like right now. All vehicles that have emissions are illegal. Like California's going to do it, but they set it out to 2035, which gives them a lot of time to start. Okay, we'll ramp up towards it. We'll try and get better gas mileage until we just more and more electric cars. And I think that's a great idea. You set the goal, you set it out nice and far, and you just keep working towards it. So yeah, this is. I think this is more of a show, but it's an irritating show because I don't like the fact that it makes our country look like the democracy is weaker. Um,
Yeah, that was the point. But the my thing is, I said tip of the spear, and maybe I made it sound like I'm like this was the beginning of something that they were doing. They have been doing more protests and more rallies. They've been doing the Proud Boys. We had the people marching with the tiki torches, and they've been working on it for decades and decades and decades before that, Rodney.
okay,
There was still, yes, we won the civil rights movement partly, you know what I'm saying? But we also, there were people on the other side then, and they didn't go away. And just like that was our mom and dad's era, that's the people walking around our age, the white folks walking around whose parents didn't want it, who didn't want us to have equal rights. They are walking around as passionate as we are about having equal rights.
all right.
As and they've been so. I've told you about that episode of the Beverly Hillbillies I watched, And yes, I watched the Beverly Hillbillies because I am into farming, and I was like, it's so interesting seeing what they lost or what they changed when they left their natural living off the land lifestyle and moved into the city. They lost all their hunting and their fishing and everything like that, and they gained grocery stores, and then they it was weird. But anyway, there was one episode where Granny was talking to one of Jethro's sixth grade buddies. Big old Jethro was only in like the sixth grade, and he had a sixth grade little boy as a friend. And she asked him, "Who did they teach you won the Civil War?" And he said, "Well, of course it was the North that won." And she goes, "Ah!" And Jethro tested him. He's like, "Don't say that to Granny. Don't say it to Granny." And Granny, he's like, "Oh, I mean, it was the South, of course, ma'am." And she goes, "That's right. We never lost. We just went working in secret." And I was watching it. I was like, "Well, damn. I
That's
mean, that's
kind of true.
yeah, it's the truth. They would have laid out. It was the 50s and the 40s when they came out, so it was just like, or the 40s and the 50s. So they just came out with it. They could say it as clear and plain as they want. We are this way because we don't believe we lost the Civil War, and now all that we didn't lose the Civil War has turned into we have not lost this presidency. So yes, it's the tip of the spear for the actions that they're taking right now, as far as Donald Trump. But they have been working on this conspiracy for a very long time. They have kept slavery around. We've all seen 13. They made sure that we kept slavery around so that they could still have that free work to build up all these American businesses. Um, they kept taking them Indian land. We have not changed from the roots from which we began. That we like to act like we're so far past. We those of us who take part in the fast clothing market. We are buying slave goods. We have to do more work. We have to do more work and get ourselves further. We are being sucked down, and if this infuriates more people, if the white people get infuriated about the whatever the woman, I'm sure she was a white woman who got shot storming the Capitol, if they get as infuriated about that as we get about George Floyd, Lord help us all. They have been waiting, lying in
It
wait for
wasn't
ways
it wasn't an African American person that shot the lady, so that's just the way it is. And I do have a question too because I've seen some Proud Boy things on where there's actually African American people who support the Proud Boys and out there with them, and it makes me understand that okay, yeah, their policies might be what we don't like, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're racist. It just means their policies and their beliefs don't really align. Because if they're really racist, they wouldn't allow an African American person to be out there with them like as one of them. So when they so it's a weird thing. Maybe it's possible that we see it as racist.
I don't need to see a white supremacist group as being more open. It does me no good to see the group to have to give any heart whatsoever
But
to a
can it be
group.
white supremacist if it's got African American members?
Yes, KKK had an African American member.
Are you talking about the Dave Chappelle show?
No, I'm talking about the Black Klansman.
Yeah, but they didn't know about him.
But but there are lots of the devil is tricky. So
Yes,
the
he is.
easiest way to trick black people into buying into your racist propaganda so that they will continue to spread it, make you sound like the good guy, is to include them. Include them in this in the hate, and then let them say, "See, it's like black people are definitely able to pick up and gleam onto anti-black racist propaganda about ourselves. It's not impossible because it is often projected and served up like it is logic, like it is basic and in the numbers. When in reality, it comes from a lot of misinterpretations of different studies and facts and things like that. So really, you have to be. I would be very careful and very wary of a political violence group. That's what they were called, a violent political group. So if the politics that they're pushing are anti-African American, even on whatever level, it's not like it's impossible to still get African Americans on board with it. There are definitely, I won't even call them Uncle Toms because I don't think that it's something that they're doing to because they hate black people. They are black people. But I think that it can be presented to them like, oh, these are the numbers, these are the facts. So clearly black people aren't as intelligent. Clearly black people, if black people were intelligent, they wouldn't go to jail. Okay, but there's also a system set up to take advantage of slavery, and slavery has always been in America something that you put off onto black people. Plus, there was a history of hate and supremacy that had to go along with slavery in America, and it still does, in order to get black people to subjugate and get in positions where they're constantly getting themselves sent to jail. So, yeah, you can have black people in your group and still be racist group.
All right. Well, I was just curious, just kind of, just different mindset, just thinking about that. But I think we talked on this quite a bit. Oh, okay, there we go. Got the new one. Talked on the subject quite a bit. I want to go ahead and end it right here, and then we can make possibly still talk about the other subject.
Yeah. As far as I can see, you're frozen.
And things like that. So, that being said, you have any final thoughts? Can you hear me? Okay, well, looks like you're still there. You're moving a little bit, but maybe my sound is down. But yeah, so again, this is the logical conclusion is love. I'm Big Brother Rod, the warrior and the scholar. That was my sister Antoinette, the farmer, and we're looking forward to seeing you in the future. We will go to this.